we are back. Man, y'all, tax season was crazy. But welcome back to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies. And y'all, I got lucky on this one. It was a mutual connection. And when they said the name, I had seen them speak on stage. I have been to different conferences and heard them. I've taken notes that they presented. So we had to do it. We had to bring the guy, Russ Perry, owner of Design Pickle. He is here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Very excited.
So I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the people because, of course, some people may not know who you are. How I don't know if they show up to industry events, but they may not know who you are. So tell them, where are you from? Who do you serve? When did you start the company? So that way we can all be on the same page because they may not understand the same amount of greatness that I know about. They may not know, so let them know.
Well, I just paid my taxes, so just to clear the air, I'm all caught up on that one. That was a painful day for me, as always. But no, my name's Russ Perry. I'm actually founder and CEO of Design Pickle. So we are a leading services businesses that allows companies, agencies, brands, marketers to get flat rate design help. So we have a whole network of global creatives. And I'd say the best way to describe it is like a fractional employee with a tons of technology wrapped around it to make the experience really, really good. So you can get a designer every day for a flat rate. $1,000 a month is usually where people start. And it's been a journey. I mean, started in 2015, as we were sharing before we hit record. I'm a ex-agency refugee. Came from that world, didn't do too well, wishing like I was at a conference last year and I'm like, I wish I could start an agency today because there are so many amazing tools and support systems and coaching programs and consultants. I was so alone back then. Anyway, but that didn't work. And so I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I know how to do design. I had a partner in Argentina who taught me a lot about production design, outsourcing design. And so I ended up creating a software and a system that still really is what we are today for brands to get the right amount of design help they need, get a reliable resource, something that can scale up and down as their business scales up and down. But it's much more of a relationship versus just like, marketplaces or tools where you still got to be putting a lot of time into like finding the right person, working with them. We take all that out of it. So yeah, I mean, it's been a journey and we're on our 9th year now and I still feel like we're a startup. And now when I say that, I'm like, man, we're kind of getting old a little bit. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if I feel as young as I really am. But all the new stuff coming out with AI, technology, design, we're really excited about. We're leveraging a ton of that coming up into our own tools and platforms. So I'm stoked. I think this couldn't be a better time to be in this space and love sharing value, love sharing my journey. Mentioned I'm a family man. I have 3 daughters, 17, 10, and 7. So actually, no, my 10-year-old just turned 11 last Monday. So I now have a 17, 11, and 7-year-old daughter. So that could be 2 hours of podcast right there.
Like we need to stop and pray because I only got 2 girls and a son, and they're only 7 and 5, and I'm like.
Well, we just had prom last weekend, senior prom, and I was bawling. It was a big day. So seeing my oldest daughter all dressed up with that.
I'm not ready. I didn't know. And they're like, oh, they're going to get older. It's a lie. It's enough for them being 7 and 5. So,
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I think where we're at today is a really great space, and it's just really great to connect with people who are out there supporting agencies because that's a huge part of my upbringing and a huge part of what we do today as far as the value that we provide.
Right. All right, cool. So look, now y'all got some context. I mean, and I'm just name drop some stuff so we can, because I need y'all to really understand. Like, he said it real casual, he had the smile, the teeth was nice, shiny. But like, hey, they're an Inc. 5000, one of the fastest growing companies for like the past 3 or 4 years. So it's not like he just came up with this random software. We serve 10 or 15 clients. Like, no, They're doing this at scale. He knows what he's talking about, and he's doing this at a level that clearly is with the spirit of excellence, and clearly he's honoring his team and clients. So we are super thankful to have you here. Let's jump into it. You ready?
Let's do it.
You had a story, so I want to hear this story.
Well, look, this is just funny story about the importance of finance and the importance of budgets and plans.
Okay.
So I think you might enjoy this, Cameron, a little bit, this topic. So I remember when I was starting my second go as an agency with a partner. I'd always done it on my own. My partner was from Argentina. He's an economics major, and he was like, Russ, for our business, our agency, we need to create a business plan. And I was like, Federico, dude, we don't need a business plan. That's for MBA schools. Like, no one creates a business plan. Like, I've been doing this agency thing for 5 or 6 years. I know how it works. I know what we're doing, our clients. He's like, no, we need a business plan. And I was like, dude, that's like, we don't, like, let's just get to work. We don't need a business plan. Him and I on this argument. So he's like, let me just work on one. I'll send it your way. And I was like, all right, fine. If you want to do it, do your thing. And he sent it my way. And you know what he sent me? He sent me an Excel file with the P&L budget. That's what he was talking about. He spoke Spanish as his first language, spoke English, but in the business translation, what a business plan meant to him wasn't about who's your target audience, what's your goals, what's this, as we might think about in more Western markets. It was like, no, the truest plan for your business is the financial plan. And I never forgot that. And when I started this business, it was always about what's my numbers, what's my margins, what are my COGS, what are all this. And I knew that going into Design Pickle. I could say I probably didn't know that for like half of my career before this, which is embarrassing because I was running the business. Like, I didn't know what gross margin was. I didn't know about forecasting. I didn't know about any of this stuff. And so I just share that as like a creative who now cares so much about finance and about planning and how that really is the business plan. It really is the business plan around that. But I tell that story all the time, especially for groups that may not love numbers and may not be like super passionate about it. It's been so important to our growth as an agency or as a company, as a software company, because without it, it's like you're lost. You have no idea what you're doing or where you're going. So
I feel like I can say it any better than that.
But I just loved how he was like, business plan. I was like, dude, we don't need a business plan. But really, he was like, you need to know your numbers is what he was saying, which I now agree with.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something very detailed. And I mean, that's what we tell not only our clients, but even in the content we put out just to educate and connect with people. Like, there's a point where you're just starting, name of the game, just make as much money as you can and make sure it's repeatable.
Mm-hmm.
But after that time frame, right, when you're creeping towards 250,000, 300, $500,000 and up, like, we have to start being strategic so that it's not just I guess or I think. Like, we can set up this financial system to where, hey, we can already project what you're going to make by the end of the year. We can have these dialogues. We can go over your goals, making sure we're staying in alignment. So that way, when we get to November, you're like, yeah, I pretty much know I'm going to owe about $100,000 in tax. But it's not a surprise check.
Right.
We've been working on and chipping away at and all of those. So,
and like the level of stress that I had in my life, I was crazy. Like, I carried so much stress that was because I was unwilling to take some time to dig into the numbers and understand them. I would go months stressed out, so stressed, and then I would finally like do it. And at that time, I had a really crazy process where I just download bank statements and manually categorize everything and create these like, it's almost like torturous. Not recommending that solution. I mean, there's definitely tools out there that you could use, but I would spend 2 hours and it would take me 2 hours and I would be on top of everything. And I would kick myself because I was like, I just spent 2 months worried, 2 months of worry, 2 months of juggling, 2 months of not knowing numbers and cash flow and payments and all of these things. And it took me 2 hours, and it probably could have taken me 20 minutes if I was using actually good tools and I didn't do it my crazy way. But look, 2 hours and I'm done and I'm on top of that. And I think for most entrepreneurs and especially agencies and people building and ideas and putting stuff out there, we carry way more worry and weight than we should have, but the reality is like taking a little bit of time, like a little bit of maintenance every single month, every single week to just understand and look at. And now today, I love spreadsheets. I love forecasting. I love modeling. Design Pickle started off, the business idea for Design Pickle was a financial model. I said,
Okay.
how much does creatively typically cost for a company? How much do I think I can get it with technology and efficiency? What should I charge? What's my predicted? How many clients do I need to grow? Because I had a lot of consulting clients and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I was like, all right, how much revenue do I need to create? What's my margin? What's my profit so that I could slowly quit? And I ran my life off a spreadsheet for 12 months until I was full-time Design Pickle. And that's all I looked at. That was my business plan, like we were sharing. And I learned that, though, from many years of avoiding all of this topic that we're talking about.
Right.
And that
And
stress
that's
carries into relationships, leadership, family, so.
yeah, and that's perfect. Like, I hope the people got that. Like, he just dropped a gem on y'all. I really let's okay. Think about it. He's literally saying, hey, at first I was stressed when I didn't need to be, and he took the time to go through and sort it. So that's what we always push to our people. Hey, get somebody that will help you. Okay, if you're not, we got a lot of people like, man, I'm just not a numbers guy. That's not my thing. Well, that's cool. But they get somebody that will work with you so then they can put it in third grade English for you. So
Totally.
now, all right, hey, instead of that 2 hours that he's spending once a month, well, now we can give him that 2 hours back. So, hey, he just made X amount more money. And then on top of that, now we can give him the insights that we know, make sure it aligns with who he is, where he's trying to take the company, as well as his team. So, and it's the same thing that you do even with Design Pickle. It's just not the money side, it's more the design side. Hey, what are
Exactly.
your goals? Which package do you need to fall in? What kind of support do you need? Where do you
Yeah.
see your 12 months from here?
And I actually just had a thought, let me thread it all together, is like we, especially small businesses, entrepreneurs, people building stuff, and shoot, even in large businesses, I see it all the time. We undervalue our time so much so that we will spend a crazy amount of time on stuff that does not at all produce the amount of value that we could produce if we were in our lane, if we were doing our thing that we love, that we're the best at. And so with finance, that was me for a while. I was spending so much time on stuff, and I was like, I just hire a finance expert. And then the weight that was lifted from me, I could then do sales and marketing and creative problem solving and all the stuff that I need to do. And then I see that the same with our clients. Our clients are so, like, they spend so much time hiring and firing and dealing with schedules and is this person available, is not. I got a bid a project, I go in the marketplace, I review portfolios, and it's just like this never ending amount of time that they're spending on the process of getting a designer, on the process of managing a creative, on the process of ensuring things are done on time, on budget. And we're like, you just go to our site and sign up and someone's designing for you tomorrow. I'm not trying to make this a pitch for Design Pickle. I'm just saying, like, you got to find the things, that support you to stay in your lane. And that's the biggest thing that I have learned as a leader is, like, every time I find myself just lost with my energy and lost with my stress, I can probably tell you I'm spending too much time on something that's not my unique power, that's not my unique value. And whether it's hiring people, managing people, finance, whatever, we got to continue to stay aware of that, because often we are pretty talented. Business owners are pretty talented. They can do a lot. So we'll carry these hats for a really long time, not knowing we're getting crushed and crushed and crushed.
I think that's okay. Y'all, see, I told you this guy is like,
I've just
did you
made a lot of mistakes. That's all.
those are the smartest people. He literally said, you need to find a way to find things that you can trust and partner with that you can delegate things to help you to stay in your lane. And I mean, to your point, I was the same way, but of course, with the marketing aspect, like I'm trying to do it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to do all this stuff. I only know what I know, and I wasn't getting the type of results. I went and found a marketing person. They gave me a strategy. Business took off, and I'm like, man, this feels better not having to put all this type of thought process into it because it's so much. But I think that's awesome, and you're doing it at a high level, so it's not like, oh, I just gave them this one thing and I take care of everything else. Like you're talking about across the board,
Yeah.
every aspect of the company. And you even highlighted like now you have more time to think of the creative aspect. Where are we going to go in the future? What is our 12-month plan? Are we on track with our 3-year plan, et cetera, et cetera? So I think that was awesome.
Yeah. And I will say, though, be careful, because one of the biggest mistakes early on when I was going down this path was like, I'm going to delegate, I'm going to get people for this. I'm going to delegate this. You get a little bit of success. You get a big client. You can hire, get contractors, whatever. I over delegated parts of the business that I didn't fully understand myself. So by the time I outsourced and delegated finance, I knew how to run my P&L. I knew how to do budgets. I was doing it in a very crazy, time-consuming way I would not recommend, but I just did it in my own way that I knew how. And I wasn't even the best. I just understood it. Same with Facebook and ads. When we started doing paid advertising, I was the paid media manager. I knew how to do it. I took courses. I figured out how to do it. It wasn't sustainable. I could not do it forever. But the reason I learned it first was so that I could hire and delegate it and manage it, and I wouldn't get taken advantage of, and I knew what to do. The time I didn't do this and got burned was with sales. I hired a friend who I trusted, and he was an amazing guy. His name is Matt. Still really just a good guy. Matt was an incredible salesperson. I recruited him to come in. I handed off all of this to him. But guess what? I didn't even know how sales worked inside of my company. So how was this brand new person going to figure it out? And it was a total failure. Wasted time, wasted money, hurt our relationship a little bit because here he was a friend. So I would say the one caveat to this is do not put critical parts of your business onto other people until you know how it works and you can trust that you can manage that well, which often actually means you kind of got to do it yourself for a minute. Sometimes that's not a big deal if you're a small company, but when you just delegate everything, you can find yourself in a place where you may not be like being taken advantage of from a nefarious standpoint of view. You might not be like dealing with someone who's trying to like rob you or take your money, but you'll end up wasting a lot of time and money while everyone's trying to figure it out.
Right. Okay. I like that because, okay, I'm using myself. So like, I know in regards to like design, like that is not my area at all. So I would be the person that's probably the opposite. I'd be like, look, I understand this is not my area. I have no clue. I just know what I like versus what I don't like.
Totally.
Let me sign up. So you have those people. And I think what you're really hinting at is you have to have some type of foundational goal or plan in place first.
Right.
Like if you don't understand that there's even a cash problem, or in your world, like you don't even know what your audience is to market to. You don't even know how.
There we go. Yeah.
Then you just say, hey, I heard y'all are the top dog in the industry here, because all they're going to do is say, well, what are we trying to present? What are your colors? What is your image? What are you?
Who are we talking to? What medium are we doing? Motion graphics? Are we doing ads? Are we doing printing? And if you're just like, I don't know, you pick, then they'll do it. But you might find that you're going through a lot of trial and error. So
I don't really like that, dude. This is your 5th revision. I don't know what to tell.
Yeah,
that's great. Okay, cool. I think that was awesome. But another thing you hinted at, so we talked about the 3 lovely ladies.
Yep.
And we know that you're killing it over here in the design and the industry space. How are you finding time? So we're talking about prom. We know that's the weekend, but I'm sure you were emotional because you were present, right? Like if you didn't care, oh yeah, my kid went to prom, you probably wouldn't even brought it up. But clearly you're spending that time at home with the family, but you're running this hugely successful company. Like, how are you keeping things in balance, or do you believe in work-life balance? How is that working?
Yeah, so my relationship with each of my daughters is very different. My oldest daughter was was from college. It was a daughter. I was never married in that regards, and so I've had a blended family from the beginning. Before I got married. Now my partner and I, with my two other daughters, we are learning about what it's like to be successful, what it's like to have all of these demands. And I think for me, I've actually journaling about this over the weekend, is like part of the struggle that I've had as a parent, especially parents of wide range. Like I've been a parent now for almost 18 years and I still got like 11 more years to go until this journey's over. Almost 30 years of parenting I'll have stacked inside of all of this. I struggle sometimes adjusting my vision of what my parenting and my fatherhood should be and support for my partner and everything, because I hold on to what it was. So when I was first a dad, I was 22 and a senior at Arizona State University. I had a 9 to 5 hourly paid job. I had no money for barely groceries. Like my mom still took me shopping sometimes to help me out. And
Moms.
yeah, shout out to moms. And then I grew, and then I had, I got married, I had my other daughters, but even still, I wasn't where I'm at today. And so I think the biggest thing that I have realized is that when I am winning as a parent, I am fully present, I'm intentional, and I'm available, but I also am not comparing myself to what I was a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Because I think what happens for me, 3 or 4 years ago, Design Pickle was a fraction of the size. We had a fraction of the success. The demands were way different. I probably had a lot more time than I do now. And I'm like, wow, summer's coming up. I remember I spent a month in Italy and I just hung out with my family for that whole time. Why are we not doing that now? Why wish I could get back to that? And the reality is, well, I could, but I also have a board of directors. I also have these demands. I have we have a lot of growth, a lot of people. I need to think about parenting in today's container and know that it's going to be different and different and different. And so that's been a big realization. I'm talking like days old realization for me, is that my role as a father and my role as a partner actually has to always be evolving, no different than our roles as leaders inside our company. And I honestly have never kind of put that together. I always knew that in the professional sense. Like I always knew that I'm growing as a leader, but I'm like, I'm also doing it as a parent too. How do I show up? How am I present? So I try to have a routine. I'm not traveling as much anymore, but aside from when I'm traveling, I have a daily, a routine for roughly each day of the week with the girls. So I do pickups from dance on this days. We do breakfast and coffees on these days. I do bedtime on these nights. And then during the weekends, it's like fully plugged in for them. And that's really dad time. So dad time is like putting the things aside, no projects, just total plans and routines that we have. Pizza night on Friday. And then now our holidays are a lot different. We try to do more, but less length. So we're taking, me and their mom are going to Disney World for the first time. And I'm like, that's kind of sad because I'm like, we used to do so many other things, but let's make that the best trip that we can. It's about the quality and the focus and the intention inside of that. So I don't know, I kind of a wandering answer, but I've been thinking about it.
That's great because, and again, another gem, by the way. I found myself like even question. I think that is freaking awesome because, to your point, like there are times where I'm like, man, I used to always read a bedtime story. I used to always say, the nighttime prayer or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when, she was 3 and, my middle kid was 1. And to your point, like the business was just starting then. It was just different versus now I have a team. We have more clients. We have different goals. So I think the key point that you made there is you have to continue to evolve and adapt. All right. In that season, I was able to do this versus now everything has changed. They've gotten older. They require different things. So how can I do my best to be intentional on the time that I do give them versus giving them, well, I'm spending time, but it's 50%. You don't really care, etc.
I'm like, and I think, I'm speaking to a dad, and I think, there's unique relationships with sons and daughters, sons and moms, sons and dads. I think we also have to give ourselves a little bit of grace. Like, I love my dad. He took me camping like once ever, and I still cherish that memory. And I think that was a fantastic thing. And I'm like, am I doing better than the previous generation, roughly? And if the answer is yes, then like give yourself some grace. You're not going to be perfect. It's not going to be everyone's dad of the year every moment of every day. But am I trending the right direction? Am I spending more time? Is it better quality? Is it more intentional? You mentioned routines and the bedtime stories. Maybe I don't do the bedtime story every night anymore. But one routine that I started last summer, which we did the whole summer, was braiding my daughter's hair, my middle daughter's hair. I got really good at braiding, and she loved it. And it was like just a thing we did at nighttime, and she'd ask for it. So even the small things matter, and they build memories, and we talk about it. So I definitely, it's like we're high level performers. We want to do more. We want to be the best. We want to do that. But also it's like, I think we're doing a lot better job than we probably give ourselves credit for, especially if we like just the fact that we're talking about it. Most dads are probably not like spending an hour about family and business and thinking about it. So if you're listening to this right now, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Yeah. Because, in our house, so our thing is on Saturdays, we do pancakes. So automatic pancake day. Let it be 12:30 and they don't see, Daddy, you know that it's pancake day. Are you going to start cooking pancakes?
I love it.
So, we have that. And it's like you said, I think setting the weekends aside for family and being intentional and trying not to touch the computer at all, I think that's what we do, and it's worked really well. And I've even asked some people like, well, man, you could do more work on Saturday. And I'm like, well, yeah, I could, but I work really hard Monday through Friday. So, you want to honor your family by letting them know they're still a priority too. So I love that. Okay. Now, we can't talk about the kids without talking about Bay.
Yes.
So this is one of my favorite questions to ask. All right, let me make sure I say it right. If we could go to Bay, when you told her, hey, I'm thinking about starting this new company, it's called Design Pickle, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, what was their initial reaction?
So to level set, my wife and I have now entered more of a co-parenting relationship. We're now in like a separated state, but we're still close and we still spend a lot of time together. And that's been a big journey for me over the last year. But she has been with me and she still supports me every day with the journey and with the kids. And she was part of day zero, as I'd call it, which was the Design Pickle day in which we started it. There is no entrepreneur journey for me without her support. And Here's the deal, and I don't recommend this as the strategy. It's that my life was so dramatic and up and down with business and money and resources and stress. And I used to have a problem with drinking. I've been sober now for 10 years. And so like that was a stress management thing that caused tons of problems in our relationship. The fact that I had found something that at the surface was super simple, was straightforward, I was really passionate about, and over time started to return measurable financial impact to our family. Granted, she didn't know that at the beginning, but what she saw was like, I just don't want this anymore. This sucks. And so for anyone thinking about starting a business idea, if you can, and you have a partner or a spouse or whatever, and like I had created a hard life for us, not because I wanted to, but just because my agency was so up and down. It was seasonal. We had clients come and go, huge swings of big contracts. And I carried so much of that stress. So I was like, hey, I have this idea. It's an online business. It's small clients paying us monthly. The cash is predictable. It's recurring business. She was just like, sounds good. Let's do it. But she had already been through, I'd say 7 years, 7 years of entrepreneur life with me that were really hard. So then at that point, now the bet is, hey, are you going to say what you're going to do? Like, are you going to keep this commitment to build this business? And that's what I mean, the actual measurable impact. When we were able to take our first family holiday, like we had never done anything during the summer, like extended, like we'd go on a trip here or one night here or do something. But I remember vividly in 2016, we went on a 1-week trip to Dana Point, California. We rented a house by the beach. This was because of the success of Design Pickle. And this was a game-changing moment for our family. So the thing for me was always, how do I continue to take the success of the company and invest it into others through salaries and paychecks and make sure that I can grow the company and create more value for them. And then for my family, like we're experiencing that win too, because your wife, your husband, your partner, your life partner, whatever, they will not support you if they have to deal with the stress, if they have to deal with the late nights, if they have to deal with the weekends, and you don't take that trip to Disneyland. like what's it all for? Like, who cares?
I literally been doing, I literally did a video today. I just didn't post it. But talking about essentially like, don't be that slave to the business. Like, you can't take time off. Or like right now, I got a family member that's like in the hospital. Like, if you can't stop and go visit them without the business is going to suffer or something's not going to happen, like, we're not doing it right. These are supposed to be things that bless our client and also blessed us. Like, we have to be rewarded for the work that we're doing. And we're probably doing it because we wanted that family time or more time with the kids or whatever in the first place. So I think that is so critical, like you said.
Absolutely.
That
you should be marching towards freedom. I'm not saying it's always going to be there. You're going to have to put it in. But do you have more freedom of choice or freedom of the challenges that you did versus 1 year ago? Are you giving more freedom to your partner, to your children, to your teams? And I think about my employees just as much. Am I giving them growth opportunities? Am I giving my clients freedom to focus on what they want to focus on? Am I creating that in all areas? And then with my family, like I remember when my wife, she was deciding to continue working or not. She got her master's. She had 2 jobs. She was doing all this stuff. She was pregnant, then had the baby, and then went back to work. And I was like, hey, at this point, I love it, and you can continue to work, but I think we can make it if you didn't want to work right now. You know, teachers in Arizona really don't make a lot. I know most states they don't. And I was looking at childcare. I was looking at, you know, all the expenses we incur for the kids to be taken care of versus her being at home and what she made. And I was like, look, it's not equal, but I think I can figure this out so you can have the freedom of choice around that. Right. And that, you know, that to me, that was one of 2 moments when I felt like, man, this is working. The other was when I paid for my mom to go on a vacation with me. I was like, Mom, I'm going to pay for your trip. I'm going to pay for your hotel. And I was like, I have made it. Like, this is fantastic, Mom. Thank you. And I was able to invest in her and how much she's invested into me over time. So, you know, that freedom thing is always and when I'm feeling that's not happening, that's when I know, hey, you might be focusing on the wrong things. You're holding on to the wrong things. You're not delegating. Your priorities are not aligned. You've gotten lost with your strategy or with your values or whatever it might be. And that's a wake-up call for me. Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. And I find myself in a big mess and I got to get out of it. So
that is so good. I mean, especially with me just coming out of tax season, like it's the same thing. Like, we know that there are some seasons like you just can't escape.
Yeah.
And my pretty much is understood like February to April, y'all know what time it is. But to your point, okay, I have to make sure that just because I've been in this crazy grind mode, once April the 18th is over, take a day or two. Like, I have to get back to letting them know that they are a priority. They were never not one, but let me get back to, hey, let's go do something fun Let's go to the movies. Let's go wherever, because you have to make sure that you're always pointing back to your why, which is what you're saying. Because like you said, there's only so many times you're going to get to work super late. So only so many times you're going to get to work during the weekend, during family time before it becomes a problem. So
Right.
I love asking other successful owners like yourself that question just to see, like, what are they doing? How are they doing it? And then even for me, it's always a self-check and reality check to be able to say, hey, he literally just told me it don't matter how much money you're making. If you don't invest that back into that freedom of time or that blessing of all that overflow and extra that you have back into your family, it's going to cost you somewhere. So I love how you went into that.
So,
Okay. Let's get to, we talked about this a little bit. What are some of the favorite things that you do to connect with your family on an off day? So you said like you try not to work on the weekends. So like, is there like a particular spot that you guys go to, or a particular, you said pizza nights or Fridays?
yeah. So I'll give you some advice that I got at a men's personal development event that I went to. I was doing a walk and talk. We were walking outside, you buddy up, you're in a conference room and you walk outside, you pair up and you kind of share exchanges of some tips and whatnot. And this gentleman, blanking on his name, I'll remember it halfway through. He's like, the thing that I do, because he had a lot of kids, and three's not a lot. Like I got some LDS friends with like 29 kids, and they, this is just three is barely like scratching the surface for some people I know, like Catholic families and big families like that. But point is this: he's like, I create intentional routines with each of my family members, intentional routines, intentional things that they know that they can count on, look forward. And he said with his oldest daughter, which was close in age with my oldest, he's like, I go to coffee with her before school once a week. And I was like, that's it? He's like, yeah, once a week. I take her to coffee. And she's now in college, and she says the thing she misses the most is our weekly coffees. And so when she's in town, we try to do it. And I was like, all right, I was like, cute, that sounds cool. But I was like, hey, that's actually really easy to do. I could try that out. So 2 years ago, when I got this advice, I started to do Friday coffee with my daughter. And we're talking like 15 minutes, right? This is not like a big, long thing, not a big event. Like it's like, before she started driving, we'd go together, and then I would drop her off at school. Now she's driving, so we meet together, and then she goes to school. And I will tell you what, this has become the number one thing both of us look forward to every week. Like we love it. And if one of us can't make it or something happens, then it's like this huge, it's like we're missing Christmas. Like it's such an ingrained habit and ingrained routine for us. And I think to me, what other things we have is Friday pizza night. Every Friday we do pizza, and that was something that's super important for our traditions. I'm starting Saturday pancakes. Let's just say not everyone loves pancakes. So I'm figuring it out. Who likes what?
Toast.
My kid, one of my daughters is weird. She doesn't like anything sweet, so I got to do some eggs for her. She's more of an eggs girl, so I'll do
Eggs and national protein.
Yeah. But I think about like, what can I do that's simple enough and intentional enough to sustain that becomes part of our relationship? The big grandiose things I think are nice and they're fun and they create some really good memories, but it's not what really sustains inside of, long term and thinking about that. And so I'm always working on that. And for us as a family, summer, we live in Arizona, so like getting out of the summer is really, really important. So every summer for the last 4 or 5 years, we do big trips. We were doing international. Now we do Atlanta. We've done Florida. But like making sure we take that time. This year we're doing Florida again, Disney and stuff, but make sure we take that time and we have those moments together. So yeah, it's a juggle though. In some seasons I feel like I'm killing it. Other seasons I'm like, oh my gosh, I am way over indexed on business. I'm not indexed on relationships and family, or I'm not indexed on myself and I'm burning out. I'm staying up too late. I'm not taking care of myself. So I don't think any season is perfect, but it's just keeping aware and trying to balance it, out.
I agree. And I think that's so, man, James, I think that's so important that you said it doesn't have to be a big grandiose thing like, oh, we're going to San Diego and going to all up and down the Californian Sea. But like, no, it doesn't have to be that. But like you said, it's those smaller intentional, the coffees, the pancakes, the pizza. Like the other one that we got, which I started this one by complete accident. Moe's on Sundays. So we come out and I just noticed that Moe's had, it's like free kids. So like as long as you get basically an adult meal, then the kids get on free. And I just went because I started this whole vegan thing back in January of this year. So I'm like, well, Moe's like the only one of the few places I can go that I can pretty much get regular stuff. So we got, and I got their stuff. And next thing I know, every Sunday, oh, on the way to church, like it's 10:45. Dad, it's Sunday. And you know what that means? I'm like, if we going to church, they're like, no, it's
God, but that God thing we're not really caring about right now. It's about Mo.
Hey, and so literally every Sunday now, Daddy, can we go to Moe's? And it's weird because like maybe we had extra pancakes or something left over, or we ate out earlier in the week, and I'll be like, well, no, we got food at home. These little people will, oh, Dad, but I just really would like some Moe's, or it would be so good if
wait until they say this, and this is the twist of the knife. I don't know if they listen to this podcast, but wait until they say that. But Dad, it's our tradition. And then you're like, oh, okay, I can't say no to that. It's a breaking tradition. Of course I have to say yes.
The nerve of me, the one who pays for it.
Yeah.
They do that with the pancakes. Dad, is Saturday, and we just have to have pancakes. And then they done got to the point where it's like, now they're comparing my pancakes to everybody. Their pancakes were okay, but they don't taste like yours.
Aww.
What have I done? So yeah, that's so great. I really hope y'all caught that it's not the huge things. And I think it's the same thing like even in business, right?
Absolutely.
Like, where these need to do something huge to let my clients know that they're getting value, when sometimes it's as simple as like, when's the last time you got on a phone call with them? Like, when's the last time you shot them an email or just sent them a Slack message? We use Slack. To just say, hey man, just was checking in, hope you're having a good week. Like, it's the small, intentional, thoughtful things that will drive that value in that relationship versus, hey, we just came up with this new product that we want to add to your like, that's cool.
Let me add to that. And this is a great topic to kind of end on, because we get real distracted as entrepreneurs, and you're just saying exactly that. Here's our new product. Here's our new service. Here's what we're doing. AI, generative creation, tech, all these kinds of things. One of the things that we forget, and I'm getting back to basics, is that there is one reason why your clients give you money. And it's not a bell. It's not a whistle. It's not something crazy. It's a piece of value that's super straightforward, and it's simple to describe, and it's very, very important to them. When we get away from doing the best at that, with the fancy stuff, with all the distracting things, and that's when the problems occur. That's when we lose clients. This is we're going to call it right now. This is called pancakes on Saturdays. It's the consistent value that you provide every single week that they know they can rely on, that they know they can connect on. And when you stop focusing on that, then that causes the challenges. So like, I know at times for us, we've gotten away from the pancakes on Saturdays, and we start doing fancy dinners, all this kind of stuff for our clients, all these bells and whistles, and we get away from the fundamental thing, which is, hey, I need designs kind of regularly that are good every day. And when we don't do that, oh, guess what? We get complaints. Doesn't matter how cool our app is. Doesn't matter the UI design. Doesn't matter all these amazing things. They care about the basics. So family routines, business value, it's super similar.
Yes. And I think that is, to your point, a great thing to remember. Like, it even reminds me of one client that we just recently lost. And like, I came up with all this exciting stuff. I'm like, oh, let's change your entity. Let's do this. Let's try this. And, they chose not to re-sign with us. And, we always do an exit interview.
Yeah.
Because, we're like, the feedback. And, he brought it down to what we always pride ourselves on. He was like, I just feel like the communication wasn't as clear as I would have wanted it. And in my mind, I'm like, I explained this. I remember being at a conference and getting on the phone call for an hour and do it. But at the end of the day, and I tell my team this all the time, we're not keeping clients because we're just the best ever created CFO. We're keeping clients because we communicate with them in a way that makes them feel comfortable so that they know how to use their money to grow their business and save to do what they need to. That's it. Like, if we do that right, and, some people call that the queen bee role from Clockwork. If we do that one thing right, we will technically 85, 90% of the time to keep our clients. If we do that one thing, we may can mess up on some type of financial, which you can always go back and fix. You can amend a tax return. But if you don't communicate and are clear in what you're delivering to them and helping them do, it doesn't matter. They're not going to feel safe, secure, and they're going to go find the next person to do that.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Yeah.
Well, to your point, I know that you're super busy. We definitely don't want to mess up any of your time or mess up your schedule. So we thank you so much. If you could leave us with something that you could tell 18-year-old or 22-year-old Russ, like looking back, my current self, if I could tell him these 2 or 3 things, what would that be?
I mean, selfishly, don't rush these years. Like, these are years that life is simple. Life is not complicated. You got barely any worries in the world, even though you think you do. So enjoy it, and be present during those years. I think a young entrepreneur, Russ, I would say niche, get more specific, really find the value inside of a much more narrow set of clients, a problem you're solving. A lot of the challenges I've always faced as an entrepreneur is I'm unwilling or afraid to niche down. And I think that's actually the easiest way to grow and scale your business. And finally, I don't know, like, start meditating sooner. I didn't start meditating until I was in my late 20s, and that was a huge game changer for me from stress management. It's a big, valuable habit. Like, days I meditate, I'm on point. Days I don't, I can feel it. It's just like working out or any other part of my healthy routine. So I could have probably avoided a lot of frustrating times of my life if I had a mental practice like meditation earlier on.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, this is your chance. If they're like, man, this guy, if for nothing else, I just like the type of guy he is. How can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah.
How can they, get in touch with your team?
So I'm working on a lot of content later in this year, which is a work in progress. But I'd say start with just connecting with me, following me on LinkedIn. Just, linkedin.com/in/Russ Perry. I'm Russ Perry on every handle there is out there. And then if you have any, design needs, obviously designpickle.com is a go-to place for businesses big and small. But I'm excited. I'm excited to share more and get out there. And I just really, really appreciate, the time and the conversations. I love podcasts like this, by the way, that we can talk about life, we can talk about business, we can connect all over the board. So this is a good one.
Man, well, I appreciate it, guys. I hope that, he dropped gems from family, balance, how to be super intentional in the little things, as well as throwing, sprinkling in some of the big ones too. We didn't even get into how he grew the company, how he scaled it, but I think you can see from his personal life, like, clearly he took those same principles and just applied them to the company. So I hope you guys got a ton of value from this. Russ, thank you so much again for giving us your time. Do you got anything else you want to leave them with before we close them out?
That's it. Thanks so much.
All right, that's it. All right, guys, we can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. Make sure you share this with some buddies, especially if you're a dad and especially if you're a girl dad. You can't.
We got both.
All right, we appreciate you guys so much and see y'all on the next one.